Alright, so let's take a look at number 7. So we're trying to build a polynomial function out of its factors, and we know that it has zeros at 2 and 6i. So if we know it has a 0 at 2, we know that that comes from the factor x minus 2. Okay. The harder part is figuring out what factor this 6i comes from. So if we know that 6i is a solution, or a 0, we know that x is equal to 6i. And by our complex conjugate theorem, we also know that negative 6i would be a solution. So we can say plus or minus 6i. Now we want to figure out what factor that comes from, so we want to get this thing set equal to 0. So how do we get rid of that I? Well, let's square both sides. So if we square both sides, plus or minus 6i, there's the dot, something like that, 6i squared. So now if we square that, we'll have x squared, and remember we have to square both terms, so we'll have 36i squared. And that plus or minus doesn't matter because, or doesn't affect our, when we square it, because we know that if we square a positive number, we're going to get a positive, and if we square a negative number, we also are going to get a positive. So now we have x squared equals 36i squared. Well, we know that I squared is equal to negative 1, so we'll have x squared equals minus 36. Alright, now we can add that 36 over. We'll get x squared plus 36. That's equal to 0, and that is our other factor. So now that we have our other factor, we can multiply this together, x squared plus 36, and that's going to be equal to our function. So now we just distribute that out, change colors. Alright, so we'll have distribute in the x first, and then we'll distribute in that 2. So we'll have x cubed plus 36x minus 2x squared and minus 72. 36 times 2 is 72. Right, so our final answer, we have to have it in standard form. So we'll have x cubed minus 2x squared plus 36x minus 72. And that is it.